Hello. It's March 1st, and it's much warmer here than it was last time we shot and talked. Hi. Today we're going to talk about early childhood education, childcare practices, and how it relates to social conditioning. Um, I think it's obvious once we get into it how it plays in. So this video is literally for anyone who's ever been a child, has a child, works with children. My goal is to perpetuate being an advocate and an ally for children and for these concepts because these six concepts are things that are still being practiced. Have been practiced forever and are literally like in our DNA. And in some places, it is understood that they need to be modified, but not all places. And so, as an advocate and an ally for children and childcare providers and parents, it's suddenly becoming clear to me that I have this platform to share this information. And it does relate to social conditioning, which is kind of the topic I'm really on my bullshit about, if I'm being perfectly honest. So, um, sort of apologies. I'm just going to kind of read these. I just composed this email, and so that's what got me started on this. Um, so let's just get to it. There are a handful of childcare practices that are no longer considered appropriate, and the awareness in this area is also sporadic, and so is the progress. And these practices have been done for so long that they are literally embedded into our DNA and nobody questions them. And in no particular order, number one, insisting that a child say please, thank you, or I'm sorry. These concepts are better demonstrated by adults than forced. Adults showing respect to each other and to the child by using these phrases at the appropriate times is a much better teacher than insisting that a child say it, especially when they don't mean it. When it's forced in that way, it becomes a rote, inauthentic response, and it does not help the child understand that the natural consequences of their actions if they believe that they can get away with it if they just say the phrases. We know adults like this, right? See, this is why it's important to change them, because children become adults who do this stuff, who have inauthentic responses, who don't know how to manage their feelings, who don't have boundaries because they weren't taught. And just because something has been done a particular way for a long time doesn't make it the right thing to do, ever. Number two, this one's second most important, and it's going to be hard for some people to hear, but I do not apologize. Forcing your child to hug or kiss anybody that they do not want to hug or kiss. Anyone. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, doesn't matter. Children need to be allowed to have the active sovereignty over their bodies and not be forced to hug or kiss anyone that they don't want to. This way they are better equipped as they grow up to say no to anyone who tries to touch them when they don't want it. I know people are going to be upset about that. But if you're more horrified by the idea of your grandchild saying no to you when you want a hug and a kiss than you are by a total stranger touching their penis in a bathroom, that's a problem. And I'm not sorry for saying it. Don't push it. This one's not really damaging. It's just a good practice to get out of, which is saying okay at the end of directives, because it turns the directive into a question that the child can say no to. And if you are not okay with that arrangement, then don't set it up like that. Also, directives are a good time for teaching a child how to set boundaries because you're showing your boundaries. I don't think I need to give an example of that. And once I learned that one, I'll tell you what, I still do it. I've known that one for 20 years and it still comes out of my mouth. So again, this is why it's important for us to stop doing these things, because habits are hard to break. Sort of apologize for this one. It's a little long. Doing or saying anything that thwarts a child's sense of exploration or discovery simply out of fear. Obviously, there's a distinction between allowing a child to have free reign and the right to experience natural consequences of their exploration and discovery, i.e., falling down, bonking their head, experiencing pain and discomfort, or versus jumping off a table with a butcher knife. For the sanity of the adult and the growth of a child, it is allowable for the child to take risks while the adult stays near and lets the child know what the possible consequences are at any moment. That wood floor is hard, or there's ice on the sidewalk, instead of, be careful, be careful. Be careful doesn't do shit, by the way. And it is more damaging than not, because you're literally just thrusting your fear at them. They also don't know what careful means. They just know the tone of your voice and the energy that you're projecting. So I highly recommend that you get the practice of saying what you mean. And we'll get into that. It is a stronger message for the adult to state that they are the ones who are afraid at the moment, instead of projecting it onto the child. I'm afraid you're going to hit your head on the hard floor. Let's move to the carpet so you can keep rolling around. It allows the adult to demonstrate how to state feelings without making the child feel like they're doing something wrong, instead of their very natural tendencies to do everything in their power to do stuff that makes us nervous. They need to be allowed to follow their instincts without being constantly told that their instincts are wrong, simply because the adult doesn't like them. And again, obviously there are distinctions to take into considerations for keeping a child alive and unharmed versus utilizing a teachable moment. Number 5. I call this one bullshit authoritarian nonsense. Bullshit authoritarian nonsense. Technical term, I believe, is control language, or at least that's, I think, what Teacher Tom uses. He's a great resource if you want to look up other people. I'm sure there's other ones. I'm not saying he's the only one. He's just one that I'm currently on right now. So, bullshit authoritarian nonsense. In the end, the adult has to know why they are doing what they are saying in regard to a child's actions and behaviors, and not doing or saying anything simply because I'm the adult and you will follow my directions or else you will get into trouble. Because imposing your position or your size onto children is literal bullying. Straight up. I'm very serious about that. Kids need to be allowed to be kids. It is your job to keep them alive, for sure. But it is not okay to project your bullshit or your fear onto them. And if you have a lot of it, it is your job to deal with it. It is your job to face your own and go deal with it. Got it? Thank you. Last one, number 6, sharing. Any child under the age of 3, for the most part, does not understand sharing. They have Neanderthal brains, and they can't get it. So my recommendation to you is don't even go there. Don't push it. Don't get into that fight. There are other things you can do. You can redirect. You can begin the practice of taking turns, depending upon the situation. I have found a lot of success with, if a child does have to wait for something, give them something else to do while they're waiting. So if you're in a circle situation, get some instruments. One child has the thing that everybody wants, everybody else has an instrument. So they have something to do. Most kids aren't going to be able to sit and just wait. And let's face it, once they get the thing, they're only going to do it for 8 seconds anyway. So really the issue is want and waiting. So practicing being able to make some decisions around that. Eventually they can sit. I've worked with kids that were able to just sit and hang for a little bit while they waited. But for the moments when that's not possible, give them something to do. I know some of these might be a surprise. Some of them might not be. I do think it's really, really important that we as a planet, quite honestly, begin recognizing that these practices need to change and start demonstrating respect for children as people who will become adults who have respect for people. Very good. Thank you so much. We will talk again soon. Have a great day.